All right, just seen the Joshua versus Povetkin weigh-in. Joshua weighed in at 246 pounds. Povetkin weighed in at 222 pounds. Both guys in good shape. Povetkin coming in the lightest he's been since, when was it? 2009. He weighed 221 and a half against Leo Nolan. So this is the lightest he's been since then. But having said that, that doesn't really say much because Povetkin has been pretty consistent with his weight throughout his whole career. He turned pro back in 2005 and he's pretty much stayed between 220 to 230 since 2005, which is pretty damn impressive for a heavyweight to only fluctuate about 10 pounds over the course of, 13 years. That's impressive. So Povetkin's in shape. Against Price, he was 229, so he's lighter than he was against Price. He's a similar kind of weight to what he was against Christian Hammer, which was just last year. So again, it's not a strangely low weight for Povetkin. He weighed this against Hammer. He weighed a similar amount against Duopa. And the reason that I'm talking about Povetkin's weight so much is because people are going to be speculating about the PEDs. They're going to be thinking, well, he's lost all this weight because he's not juicing no more. But again, when he was taking whatever he was taking, his weight, I mean, for some of the fights was a bit heavier. Against Klitschko, 225, so he wasn't that big against Klitschko. 224 against Manuel Char. So, he's only like 2 pounds heavier against Char when he was taking Meldonium than he is now. Takam 229, so he was a bit heavier there. Takam and Perez, he was heavy. Marius Waki was a bit heavier, to be fair. And that we know he was on Meldonium for the Marius Wack fight because he admitted it. Then the next fight he came in at 223 against Johan Duopa. And didn't he fail a drug test before the Duopa fight, like another drug test or something for a different drug because he was supposed to fight Berman Stavern instead of Duopa. But anyway, nonetheless, 222. It's a good weight for Povetkin. He's 39 years old. He's still dangerous. So let's see what he can do against Joshua tomorrow night. And as for AJ, his weight of 246, I think that's the same kind of weight he weighed against Dylan White, right? Let me just check here. Certainly much lighter than he was against Takam or Klitschko, lighter than he was against Molina, heavier than he was against Brazil. Okay, he's a pound heavier than when he fought Dylan White at 246. So, yeah, it's a good weight for AJ. Definitely better than the 254 against Takam and the 250 against Klitschko. Good to see him in lighter. He's got more mobility and hopefully still retains the strength, and maybe he's found his optimum weight now. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to hopefully a good fight between the two of them. Povetkin is hopefully not too old to make a fight of it. Now, I do have to say in closing, because this is not going to be a long one, but I do have to say in closing, I did not pick Povetkin to win. So there are some people getting it twisted saying, oh my God, how can you say Povetkin? I'm not picking Povetkin to win. Did you not hear what I said at the start of my last upload? I said, I'm not, at 13 seconds into my last upload, I said, I'm not picking Povetkin to win. All I said is, I expect Anthony Joshua to lose while he's a champion. I expect him to lose his unbeaten run. And I said, don't be surprised if unbeaten record, and don't be surprised if it's against somebody who people are writing off, because that's what the history of the heavyweight division has shown time and time again, is that long-time champions, people who are picked to be, monolithic champions and reign over the heavyweight division, those guys end up losing to people that very few expected them to lose to. You understand? That's the history of the heavyweight division. So, and those upsets are often in shocking fashion. I'm not saying Povetkin's going to be the guy to do it at all. But what I am saying is, if Povetkin was the guy to do it, I certainly wouldn't be surprised because I understand and I know and I lived through a lot of heavyweight history. And whenever people are getting a little too over the top when it comes to a heavyweight champion, that's often when he comes unstuck, like with Mike Tyson. Trust me, people, when Mike Tyson was in his prime, back in 88, 89, 1990, well, probably 88 was his prime, but he was still champion up until 1990 when he fought Buster Douglas in February. And Tyson was seen as not only the best boxer in the world, he was seen as invincible as a boxer, despite all the stuff that was going on outside the ring. There were many rumors of him partying and living a kind of hedonistic lifestyle. These rumors have been going around for years, but whenever Mike Tyson would get in the ring, he'd still perform and knock everybody out. So the press and the public tended to dismiss all that and say, oh, well, Tyson's so good that he can go out drinking and do whatever he wants and still beat everybody up. There's nobody out there to test him. There's nobody out there to beat him. Mike Tyson was not only seen as invincible in the ring, he was also seen as invincible outside of the ring by many people. I'm telling you, this isn't like today where you have MMA and all this kind of stuff. Back then, I'm telling you, the majority of people literally believed that Mike Tyson was invincible in any kind of hand-to-hand combat with anybody. That's how over the top the Mike Tyson hype was. That's how much the public, the general public, believed in this man. So trust me when I tell you that Anthony Joshua is definitely seen as more vulnerable than Mike Tyson was. Way more vulnerable. When Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas, Tyson had never been on the canvas. He'd never had a life and death struggle with anybody up until the Buster Douglas fight. He'd been rocked in a couple fights for a split second, but you know, never rocked to the level that Anthony Joshua was against Klitschko or down against Klitschko, or even the way Joshua was rocked against Dillian Whyte. No. Tyson took a couple shots from, let's say, Tony Tucker, but he was never really hurt at all or buzzed by Tony Tucker, but he was knocked off balance in the first round briefly. He got wobbled in the last round against Bone Crusher Smith, but that was, again, just for a split second. And other than that, Tyson was rock solid. You know, you'd never seen any weakness in him in terms of punch resistance or, you know, being in a war. I mean, Frank Bruno, to be fair, in their first fight, Frank Bruno did rock him with a left hook. But again, it was more Tyson throwing a left hook of his own and being off balance that made it look worse than it was, you know. And again, did Mike Tyson lose a round against Frank Bruno? No. Not on my card anyway. So, yeah, Tyson was certainly seen as far more dangerous than Anthony Joshua is, or at least far less vulnerable. And that is reflected by the odds, because Mike Tyson against Buster Douglas was a 42-1 underdog. Alexander Povetkin against Joshua is only 7-1, which just shows you if Povetkin was to beat Joshua, that would not be anywhere near as big an upset as Douglas beating Tyson. It wouldn't be anywhere near as big an upset as Holyfield beating Tyson the first time. Holyfield was like 25-1 against Tyson in the first fight. So this wouldn't be anywhere near that kind of upset. I can't remember off the top of my head what the odds were for Lewis against McCall in the first fight, but I reckon the odds were longer than they are for Povetkin and Joshua. So again, I'm not picking Povetkin to win the fight. I'm picking Joshua to win. Let's be clear about that. I think Joshua has a very good guard, a very tight guard. When he shells up Joshua, when he puts his arms up, because he's got these big, strong arms, it's difficult to penetrate that guard. You have to wait for him to make a mistake. But when he's shelling up and just holding his arms up there, and he blocks shots and counters, it's almost like a crab-like defense that Joshua has. And he's dangerous on the inside. Don't think that Joshua can only be dangerous against Povetkin at long range. Because of the fact he's the taller guy, obviously, he has an advantage that he can use there, keeping Povetkin on the outside and whatnot. But don't think that he can't be very dangerous on the inside against Povetkin, because he can. Joshua will shell up with that crab-like defense, block shots, and come back with very short, powerful punches. So he's going to be dangerous for Povetkin on the outside and on the inside. Trust me on this one. But Povetkin's going to be dangerous on the inside against Joshua too. Povetkin is a smart fighter. He's not just a pressure fighter. He's a smart fighter. And Povetkin's a guy who lands punches clean. You know? And I do think that if the fight goes long and Joshua hasn't put Povetkin down or hurt him in any way, things could get very interesting. Okay, because if you saw in the late rounds against Carlos Takam, I thought Joshua was blowing a bit. Now, again, he was a lot heavier against Takam, so he's a lot lighter now. And we've seen him go 12 rounds against Parker, but Parker wasn't hitting him. Parker wasn't putting him under any pressure. It's relatively easy to go 12 rounds for most championship level fighters when you don't have a guy pushing you, when you don't have a guy pressuring you. But in the late rounds, Povetkin, if he's, anywhere near what he was a couple of years ago, he might have what it takes in the late rounds to actually push Joshua and see if his muscles are filled up with lactic acid, and maybe you can take him into deep waters and drown him. So again, to be clear, I'm taking Joshua to win the fight. I've been taking Joshua to win this fight from at least, a year ago or something, when people were even talking about this fight being a possibility. So I'm not deviating from my pick. I'm picking Anthony Joshua to win. All right. But it's not, if Povetkin was to pull off the upset here, so many people who are in the comments of my last few uploads talking about, this is a mismatch. All these kind of people, they would be absolutely shocked to the core if Povetkin won. Because these people are not seeing the heavyweight division in context. It wouldn't shock me to the core because I've seen much bigger upsets in the heavyweight division than this. You're talking about an old guy in Povetkin, 39. How old was George Foreman when he won the heavyweight title? He was 46. Corey Sanders when he knocked out Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko was 26. 2 years younger than AJ when he fought Corey Sanders. Corey Sanders was like 38. And he knocked out Klitschko in 2 rounds. So don't talk to me about, he's old, so forget about it. Yeah, he's old, but it's not like he's not a good fighter. It's not like he don't have experience. Hang on, how old was Klitschko when he nearly knocked AJ out? All right? So old fighters can still do stuff. How old was Luis Ortiz when he nearly knocked Deontay Wilder out? You understand what I'm telling you? So, yeah, I expect Joshua to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Povetkin chinned him at all. I would not be shocked. Would not be shocked. So, anyway, let me know what you think about the weights in the comments. Is it a good weight for AJ? Is it a good weight for Povetkin? How do you see the fight playing out? And, it was incredible reading some of the comments of, I guess, AJ fanboys on my last upload, because some of them were incensed that I was saying that AJ's going to lose at some point in his career when he's still a top level heavyweight, not years down the line when he's washed up. I'm talking about when he's still a top level heavyweight, when he's still in his prime years, and heavyweight's prime can go up until 35, 36. So when he's still in his prime years and he's still champion, I'm expecting AJ to lose at some point, not only once, but probably more than once. And some of the AJ fanboys were incensed when I said this. Somebody said that I was praying for AJ's downfall. And it was somebody who has been following me for years. And he came out with something as foolish as saying, I'm praying for AJ's downfall because I say he's going to lose. No, learn to recognize the difference between predicting something and wanting something to happen. They're two different things. If I was a psychic, I might predict the apocalypse in 2020, but that don't mean I want the apocalypse to happen. All right. I'm not telling you what I want to happen or don't want to happen. I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen based upon my knowledge of the heavyweight division, history repeating itself, understanding the dynamics and the mechanics at play. That's all. It's not about me wanting AJ to lose or any of this rubbish. It's just heavyweight boxing. It's a competitive division, and all these top guys from AJ to Wilder to Fury, they're vulnerable. So it is what it is. Anyway, let me know how you feel in the comments. I'm out.